Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to the podcast Retro Life Review. My name is Chris Adams, host of the podcast. Here again with Mr. Tim today. Tim, how we doing?
I'm doing good. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, man. Hey, as always, I want you to put your stuff out there, man. So tell everybody about your podcast.
The 80s Flick Flashback Podcast. We're going strong. We're in season 5, about to wrap up season 5, going into season 6. And we talk 80s flicks. Me and another 80s flick-loving guest co-host on every episode. We talk about a sometimes great, sometimes not so great movie of the 1980s. We talk about our first-time watch memories, favorite scenes, iconic scenes, and I like to dig deep into how the movie was made to talk about the cast and crew, and we learned some cool trivia along the way. So give us a check, or give us a check. You can give us a check too. Yeah. You can check us out on your favorite podcasting platform like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart Podcast, Stitcher, all those good places. So anywhere you listen to this podcast, I'm sure you can find us on that one as well.
And while you're issuing checks to him, don't forget I'm right in line behind him.
Right.
So, yeah, out of curiosity, what is one that was not so good that you've done? You know, you said things that are good, things that are not so good. What's the one that you did you thought was not so good?
Oh man, that's a good question. I mean, we haven't done any of that. I mean, I'll say this: one that we planned to do was Halloween 3: Season of the Witch, and after me and my guest co-host for that one, Ron West, after we watched it, I was just like, you know what? I can't talk about it just because it was just so bad. It's like I just couldn't. I didn't want to put in the work to do all the research because I just didn't really want to talk about it. But there
I had people tell me that was bad. They thought it was horrible, and some people thought it was great.
I mean, I honestly
never watched it. I never watched it because it wasn't Michael Myers.
Right.
I never watched it.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's some that we, going back haven't aged as well. And I've gotten some flack on this one already, but The Breakfast Club, I know it was groundbreaking at the time, and maybe because it wasn't one that I really saw when it first came out. So I don't have the nostalgia for that one like other people that saw it. I saw it much later. Mm-hmm. So right. It wasn't an impactful movie for me. Like my favorite John Hughes movie. My favorite John Hughes movie is Ferris Bueller's Day Off, but I've seen that so many times. That's like one that I'm really, that I kind of gravitate towards more so than Breakfast Club. And I had some friends like, I'm not going to listen to your podcast anymore because you didn't like The Breakfast Club. I was like, I didn't say, I just said it's not my favorite. I mean, we try to, we really don't ever bash a movie, but we do talk about things that, don't work or, we're honest about how we feel about it, but we try, even if it's a movie that, this doesn't always work out this way, but I try to, at least if it's not a movie that I like or I'm not as fond of, I'll try to have my guest host at least be someone that likes the movie so we can have a discussion about it. Unfortunately for that episode, the guest co-host I'd planned couldn't make it, and I had to, have a quick change. And my guest co-host, who we had not really talked about it, he was like, well, I'm not a big fan of this movie either. And I'm like, oh, this is not going to go over very well. And it didn't. So there's just some that, and there's been some that I'd never seen before doing the episode. So those are always kind of fun. And yeah, so I wasn't as big a fan of The Shining, which everybody talks about how great the Stanley Kubrick The Shining is. And it was okay, but it wasn't scary. It wasn't as, I wasn't as big of a fan of that one, but yeah.
I think at the time it was one of those movies that people considered scary, kind of like they thought Jaws was scary.
Right.
Jaws is not scary.
No,
I mean, it's just
the
thought of being eaten by a shark is scary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I appreciate The Shining for what it is. Like, I see the artistry of Kubrick in that movie and understand why. He was successful and why the movie was successful. As a whole, it's not a great movie to me, Same with the Breakfast Club. I mean, I appreciate what it is, and John Hughes is fantastic for what he did in it. But I think the hard part about doing an 80s podcast, especially for me, is I grew up in the 80s. So a lot of movies that I'm very fond of, even though they may not hold up as well, I'm still very fond of them because of the nostalgia factor of I remember my life when I saw it the first time, or the memories of seeing it. So that's kind of the good and the bad of it is if we cover a movie that I did not see as a kid, I usually don't, appreciate it as much as the ones that I did see as a kid.
Right. That's understandable. Well, we were talking earlier, we were about to start this.
Right.
Both were like, well, man, I'm worn out today. I'm just so tired.
Yeah,
we're doing a late.
Tired.
For those of you who you don't know, we're doing a late night recording tonight for this show, so we can have it up by Thanksgiving. So, and I'm doing it because of the movie that we are doing. So, similar to the movie, I feel like I am fighting my way toward making it the holiday dinner because work is going to kill me before I get there, I believe. But that being said, just like Steve Martin, I am trying to make myself home for the holiday. Hopefully, I do not pick up a John Candy along the way. And if I do, hopefully he does not put his socks in the sink and hang his underwear up where the towel rack is.
Yeah.
All I can say. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. I just watched this movie for the first time earlier this year because I was going on somebody else's show that has like a fan spotlight thing, and I was giving my take on it. And it was a fun movie. I was like, how did I ever miss this? Why did I never seen it before? It was so fun to watch. And I know it's because I never was a huge Steve Martin fan. I liked some of his movies like Sergeant Bilko and Roxanne, I think it was called. Is that the one where he's got the big nose?
Yep.
And The Jerk when it came out. I didn't see it when it came out, but years later.
Yeah, same here.
So, I mean, probably one of my absolute favorites of his is The Three Amigos.
Yes, absolutely.
So you put him along with Chevy Chase and anybody else, you've got comedic genius going on right there all day long. So, but John Candy was always someone that I liked. I thought he was funny. Summer Rental and Armed and Dangerous. He was in Splash, Brewster's Millions.
The Great Outdoors.
Great Outdoors. Dan Aykroyd. That was a great movie. So putting these two together, I mean, how can it go wrong? And it just didn't. Once I watched it, I'm like, I'll be watching this every year going forward. So
right.
So I mean, you got Steve Martin, who's a business, let's say businessman. I think he's in advertising from the looks of it.
Yeah.
Basically, so they're, I guess, pitching their deals to their boss, who's taking his sweet time trying to get it figured out. They're watching their watches, like, I got to go.
Right.
You're not going to catch a cab. You're going to catch a plane. I got to get out of here. And the guy just keeps taking his time just to finally say, we'll regroup after the holidays and look at it again. So they're like, all this time just for that? Are you kidding me? And they finally take off. So you got the guy, speaking of Ferris Bueller's father in the movie.
Yes.
And he's telling Steve Martin, he goes, you may as well wait with me and, take the 8 o'clock. You're not going to make that 6. He said, no, I'm going to make it. I'm going to get home. I told my wife I'd be home by such and such time. I got to get there.
Right.
So, I mean, he takes off looking for a cab. And we have a cameo in this movie, Kevin Bacon. Which was kind of cool, kind of funny. He spots Steve Martin across the street. Their eyes lock, and they're like, they see this cab, this one cab, and they're on opposite sides of the street. So they both take off running for it. And it looks like Steve Martin's going to get it because Kevin Bacon, he trips over somebody's scooter or luggage or something. And so just before he gets there, though, he falls over this. He falls over this trunk. It's just sitting there. And so Kevin Bacon gets it and takes off. Stacy's got another one, and he goes to this guy. He offers to buy the cab from him. Spits out $75, I think, for the cab to the guy. Just turn around and see that somebody has stolen his cab and taken off with it.
Right.
Hilarity and just the hilarity ensues from here, Tim. So, what is your thoughts on the movie in general? I mean, the two, like I was saying earlier, you put the two together.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, just comedic genius. It seems like. What did you think of the pairing of John Candy and Steve Martin for this movie?
I love it. I mean, it's pretty typical Steve Martin. I mean, I don't think he's really playing well. I guess later, like Three Amigos is a little different, but and The Jerk, but like this is 87, so towards the end of the 80s, going into the 90s, where Steve Martin kind of moves into more of like the straight man, kind of not the wild and crazy guy he was like in the 70s and early 80s. But then John Candy, I was thinking about this watching this again today, is John Candy's had so many great roles, and I think this is, people say, what is your favorite John Candy movie? This is probably my favorite, and it's tough because a lot of people love Uncle Buck, and I think Uncle Buck is fantastic as well. I love The Great Outdoors. I love Summer Rental. I mean, there's so many that he's done, but he brings such heart to this. I mean, it's all fun. It's all funny, towards at the beginning and the middle, but then once you get to the end and you kind of get more serious in the movie, I just think John Candy is so great in the movie. But the pairing of them together, I think, was fantastic. And then, of course, John Hughes, who wrote it, made it so funny. And it's a road movie. I mean, of course, it's been, other movies have taken the same formula. Of course, the one that comes to mind first is Tommy Boy from the 90s, which if I was doing a 90s podcast, would probably be one of the first movies I would do because that's one of my favorites. But yeah, so just that the travel movie, The Odd Couple being stuck together, but all the things that happened to them is just so outrageous and crazy, but it's so funny. But it works for me. Like, and I saw this in the theater when it came out. Not right when it came out. It'd been out for a while when I saw it. But I had it on VHS. I had it on DVD. I have it on Blu-ray now. And it is one that I may not have watched it every Thanksgiving, but I try to watch it every year around this time because it's one of the few real Thanksgiving movies. I mean, I think
that's right.
People think about it for the holidays, but it's one of the few movies that really, is set at Thanksgiving. So
you might know of a few more. I can't think of one though. That's just a Thanksgiving related. Christmas I can, yes.
Yeah.
Christmas related, but I have trouble coming up with a Thanksgiving film.
Yeah, not in the 80s. I know Home for the Holidays, I think is Thanksgiving. There's a few that have come out since then, but I don't, they're not as memorable as this one for sure.
Yeah. But the movie itself, estimated $15 million budget, it did make worldwide $49,530,280. So that's respectable. That's definitely respectable. You made 3 times plus the money back, so can't really complain about that. But like I said, you put those two together, and what's not to like or want to go watch about it? Steve Martin's character is so high strung. It seems like, and he wants to be. It's like when you're watching him, it's like he wants to be patient. He wants to be a good guy.
Right.
He just wants to get home to his wife and children, and be there for Thanksgiving because this job he's got. Man, I didn't pick up on. Does it take him to different cities or something? The job itself, or is the job based out of a different city?
I don't know. I want to say that he's in New York.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he primarily works in New York, or if he was just there for the pitch for this company, his advertising company is based in Chicago. I don't think it's really explained, but yeah.
No. But he's got to get back from New York to Chicago. And funny enough, the plane he finally gets on can't land in Chicago. It has to go because of weather delays. And they end up going to, I believe it was
Wichita.
Wichita, Kansas. Yeah. So, I mean, it's well out of the way.
Yeah.
But he ends up seeing, while he's in the airport, before they get there, I'm jumping the gun a little bit. Before he gets there, sees John Candy sitting across from him. Now, John Candy's character's name is
Dale Griffith.
Dale Griffith, and then I got it written down here, Neal, for Steve Martin's Neal Page.
Right.
So Neal Page and Dale Griffith. He sees Dale Griffith sitting across from him, and he's looking at him, and he's eyeballing him like, I know you, and then he realizes who he is. Oh, you're the guy that stole my cab.
Right.
Because he asked him, he goes, "Do I know you?"
Mm-hmm.
And Doug Griffith's like, "Do I know you?" He's like, "Nah." He goes, "Yeah, you're the guy. You stole my cab."
Mm-hmm.
He says, "What? No."
I've never
And
stolen anything in my life. Right.
right. He goes, "Oh, you're the guy that tried to steal my cab."
Right. Right. Now, I want to say about
You
that.
turn it around and flip it on him,
Right. Right.
No, you're the guy.
I do want to mention in that scene, I've seen this movie I don't know how many times, and it wasn't until last year. Maybe it was either last year or the year before when we did it for my podcast, and I was putting together like little gifs for or gifs, what GIF, for social
Yeah.
media, or whatever. And I used that scene where he realizes that's Dale Griffith in the airport, but I never knew that. Like, I always thought he would flash back to him on the street. But if you watch, no, he's still in the airport. But the way that Neal sees him, it's got the cab door and his looked expression, but the background is still the airport. Like, he merges those two things together. I don't know why, and maybe because it's so fast, but I never picked up on it. But now every time I see it, it makes that scene even better. Like, that was such a cool shot for John Hughes to do, which I thought was hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah. And it seems like it's bad enough he lost his cab, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Doug Griffith steals his cab. He takes off with it. So now the first really bad thing is the guy he was giving the pitch to took too long.
Yeah.
Second thing is that he pays for the cab extra just to get it.
And doesn't
and
get
then
it.
loses it on top of it. Still doesn't get it.
Right.
Tries chasing it down. Doesn't work for him. Now he's at the airport. It's like it just keeps piling on. And you wonder to yourself, as you watch the movie go along, you see more and more pile on this man, and you wonder to yourself,
how much can he take?
Yeah, how much more can a person take on the holidays? How much more is he going to be able to go before he just snaps?
Mm-hmm.
So we'll get to that in a minute.
He does snap. Yeah,
he does snap. So he's boarding the plane. And he's supposed to have a first class ticket. Well, now he doesn't have a first class ticket.
Nope.
I guess they've bumped him or something.
Mm-hmm.
Moved him down. So, and I forget why they moved him down. But
I think it was because he was in a rush. He got there late. Whoever gave his boarding pass gave him a coach seating assignment instead of first class, and he was trying to let them in. So that's kind of how I read it, that's how I understood it watching it again today.
Okay. I just want my first class seat that I paid for, Well, I just about had enough of you, Take your seat. So he gets back there, and lo and behold, who do we see and find right there next to him? Dale Griffith.
Yep.
So he's just like, can my luck get any worse? So he gets in, he's in between Dale Griffith and some old guy. And Dale takes off his shoes and socks, which is like unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
In this enclosed area on the plane. I can only imagine. Anyway, so they're taking their flight, and I guess they've been out there for a little while and probably close to Chicago. And the old man to Steve Martin's right has fallen asleep. And I think he got his head on his shoulder.
Yeah.
And then on the other side of it is Dale Griffith there, John Candy. He looks at it, he's like, something like $10 says we're not landing in Chicago.
Right.
And sure enough, they don't. They keep going. So we get there. Now we move on. I said it keeps piling up on him, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can't find a place to stay. Right. He's trying to see about getting another flight out. Since he took so long trying to find a flight out, now he can't find a place to stay, it seems like.
Right.
But good old Dale Griffith, though, he got a place to stay.
All his connections as a shower curtain ring salesman.
Yes, shower curtain ring. Oh my God! Shower curtain ring salesman. I mean, it's got to be high demand right there.
Mm-hmm.
That you travel the world and make a ton of money on that. Oh, I thought that was funny all by itself alone. But
oh yeah.
He's like, I made a call. I got a place I go to. I can probably get you a room there. Come on with me. So he talks into going with him, and he goes, and they get there, and the guy can't get him a separate room or anything.
There's only one room left. Yeah.
but he makes it sound like it's a double occupancy, right? He makes it sound like and technically it is. It's a double bed, right? So it's not two beds, just one double bed.
Mm-hmm.
So he sees this, and it's like his heart sinks and hits the floor. He's like, I can't believe this. This was my favorite part of the movie, by the way.
Okay. It's one of the best. One of the most memorable for sure.
Yes, and this is what I did when I did the fan spotlight on Buzz in the Tower. This was my bit. It was, they had already had all kind of disagreement already, we're going to say, before they fell asleep. Dale's got some bad habits.
He's a slob, basically.
He's a bad slob, yes. Yeah. And he's eating peanuts while he's in bed. He's smoking.
He left beer on the vibrating bed, which get all over the.
He has like a 6-pack of beer, and he set it off to the right. But he put a coin in the bed that makes it vibrate and jump up and down. And he's like, "I'm sorry, I didn't know the beer was going to explode." He goes, "You set it on top of a vibrating bed, and it shook it up. What did you think was going to happen?"
Right.
And they proceed to go on until Steve Martin gets up with a tirade and goes off on him and talks about did it ever occur to you that no one wants to hear you speak all the time? When I was reading the back end of a barf bag, did you not pick up on that? I was tired of talking and listening to you and everything. Mm-hmm. And they just keep on going. And Dale gives him the little speech, I like me and my wife likes me. And I'm sorry you don't like me and blah, blah, blah. And say hurtful things and made him feel bad. So I don't think they had any words the rest of the night, though. I don't think he apologized or anything, really. He just finally felt bad about what he did and laid down and
he's like, let's just get some sleep. Yeah.
Okay, so the next morning they wake up and okay, this is it. This just kills me every time I see it. I mean, Steve Martin's laying on his side. John Candy has got right up against him sometime in the night. He's laying up against him in the bed like he's hugging him. And then Steve Martin's asleep, but he's got this little bit of a smile on his face. And John Candy's waking up, and I guess he realizes he's cuddling somebody, and he kisses his ear twice.
Right.
He's like, Dale, why did you kiss my ear? He says,
why are you holding my hand? Yeah,
why are you holding my hand? He says, I don't know. Dale, where's your other hand? It's between two pillows.
Those aren't pillows.
And then they jump up and do the man thing. They're like, oh no, they're trying to shake it off. If they can shake a little harder, they'll shake it off. And did you catch that Bears game this week? Oh, they got a good team, don't they? They're gonna do good this season.
Right.
Go Bears. I don't know what was funnier to me at that point. Them waking up that way with that Patsy Cline song playing.
Yeah. I'm back in baby's arms.
Yes. They couldn't pick a better song, I don't think, for that scene. Or he goes in to take a shower.
Oh, yeah.
No. The shower was the night before, wasn't it?
Right.
So the whole shower part was he let Dale go first, and Dale used all the towels. All he had was a washcloth to dry off with.
Oh, the next morning was he went to go. He was wiping his face, and Dale had his socks soaking in the sink. Yeah.
Yes, and he yells at him, "If you're gonna brush your teeth, take my socks out of the sink."
Right.
So he's disgusted. And he just reaches over, thinks he grabs a towel, and he's patting his face with the towel, and then he stops and realizes he's holding Dale's underwear in his hands. He's patting his face with his underwear everywhere. Mm-hmm. So I was like, all right, surely it can't get any worse for somebody than this, right?
Right.
You would think. But during the night, they got robbed. They didn't realize it yet, but they got robbed.
Right.
Kid come in, takes all the money out of their wallets. They realize they got no money when they go to eat breakfast, I guess. Mm-hmm. I mean, from there, what was the next thing from there? Once they left the hotel they're trying to find another way home. There was no flights going out. The manager at the hotel's son comes to pick him up.
Right.
Take him to the train station.
To the train station, yep. Train was next, yep.
Train. But there's no train for people there. The let's use chickens or pigs or something.
Right.
And the way they portrayed the couple that picked him up, he's like, "Woman, what are you waiting for? Get out here and get their stuff in the truck." No, we'll get it up. She's stout. She likes doing this.
Yep.
So what's the part from there? Take it from there, if you will, where they go. The guy's going to take them to the train station, but has to take them to the next place down. They get like a 2-hour trip in the back of a truck.
Yeah, they're in the back of the truck, and it's freezing. The dog. So then, I'm trying to remember. So the train, and then they get on the train. I know their credit cards got switched at the hotel.
Yeah. Yeah, on the train, he couldn't get seats together, he told him, so they had to sit in separate areas.
Right. And then, oh man, I didn't know I was going to be doing. I'm not good at reviews or like recaps. Yeah.
No, I mean, that's good. It's cool. I think what happened is that something happened with the train.
The train stops, like
smoke on the top of it.
Like the train breaks down and they end up having to walk.
Yes, it's like somebody like only a couple of miles to town. Here you go. There's a bus station.
Right. And then they're on the bus. Then they get on the bus, and they're doing the little sing along, and of course, everything that Dell sings, everybody knows. And then Neal tries, was it 3 coins in a fountain or some song, and like everybody, they're like, what do nobody knows that song. And then of course Dell, Flintstones, meet the Flintstones, and gets everybody singing again.
Yeah, they all pick back up again.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's like he's thinking, how could it go any worse? But everybody loves this guy. They don't know if they only knew this guy, they hate him.
Right. And so then that gets him to the I guess the next airport, but they're going to have to take a car, and I'm assuming that's because with only one credit card, it's probably at that point it was probably cheaper for him to get a car to drive than to get another flight.
Yes. So. I'm looking at some things in here, and this is building up to where he goes to, they have to take their walk or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to get a rental car and go home.
Right.
He is, I guess he has told Dale that it's too hard for 2 people to make the trip, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's going to split up on his own, and he's going to go and I guess find another way home and everything. So he's going to get a rental car, and he gets dropped off by the bus or whatever there, and there's no rental car in that spot. It's gone.
Right.
It's just not there. I'm looking here. It says on instruction from John Hughes, Edie McClurg's role as a St. Louis rental car agent was partially improvised. Now, Edie McClurg, we were talking about Ferris Bueller earlier. There's a second Ferris Bueller person. This is the secretary to the principal at school.
Right.
All the kids think he's a righteous dude.
Right.
And you don't think of her as being, mean or sadistic or even cursing as far as it goes. She's got the nice little old lady thing about her,
Mm-hmm.
But Hughes told her to simply riff a fake phone conversation with someone about Thanksgiving plans while Steve Martin remains waiting in line, staring at her to finish. McClurg came up with the idea to speak with her sister about who was going to make what, adding, I can't cook. And Hughes asked her how she came up with those lines so quick, and she replied like his script. She just drew it from her own life. McClurg claims to say that random people ask her to tell them, I'm going to say they're messed up because that's not what she said. Because she says, and that's why I said you don't expect her to say anything bad. It says random people will ask her to tell them that they're effed.
Right.
Why do you want to hear that from her? That's the one thing I don't want to hear.
Right.
John Hughes, in an interview on the Those Aren't Pillows DVD, said he was inspired to write the film story after an actual flight he took. He was on from New York to Chicago. The flight was diverted to Wichita, Kansas, taking him 5 days to get home. So I guess this is something that happened to John Hughes, and he improvised or wrote the rest of it based around, but an actual thing that happened to him. So I'm trying to find here is the scene where he goes back, when he finally makes it all the way back, and he's listening to Edie McClurg just ramble off to her sister on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
He is just fuming the whole time. He's taking off running down the road. You've messed with the wrong guy.
Right.
He says this like 3 different times in the movie, I think, right?
Mm-hmm.
Apparently they know who they're messing with because they get away with it every time. But Steve Martin goes on a tirade.
Yep, the only reason why this movie was rated R was for that scene.
Yes.
Because of the expletives that were used. Yep.
I'm trying to find where it says how many times. I think I want to say.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, the marathon car rental scene is exactly 1 minute long from the time Steve Martin starts his tirade to the time the attendant ends the scene. In that 60 seconds, the F word is used 19 times. The film would easily been rated PG or PG-13 by the MPAA if it weren't for this one scene.
Yeah. And then I see here only rated PG in New Zealand, even though the infamous 18 F words in under a minute scene remained intact. So I guess that word's not as offensive in New Zealand as it is in America.
It could be common everyday words for all we know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's different in some places. I mean, they get away with a lot more in television than we do over here. So it's definitely believable. Definitely believable. I'm sorry. I'm still getting this Edie McClurry in my head as he's dropping the tirade to her, that look on her face. Oh. So he goes back. I guess he makes his way back out, and he's not done yet with what he's telling people, right? He's not done yet. There's a guy out there who has something sarcastic to say to him. He sarcastically replies back to him, which gets him nothing but a knock in the nose. Knocks him to the ground. A car comes speeding up and stops and misses his head by like inches.
Right.
And who do we have get out of the car?
Del Griffith.
Good old Del Griffith. Back in the picture again. So I forget what he says. He's telling the guy not to be such a mean person. Have a heart. We got an injured person on the ground here.
Right.
Can you get him up for me?
Yeah.
Gladly.
Right. Steve Martin's like, no, please, no.
Grabs him by the crotch and picks him up.
Yep. You say, wow, Neal, I've never seen anybody get picked up by their testicles before.
No, but he had something funny to say after that, though, that I've never heard before. That made me laugh again when I watched it Wednesday. Yeah. That is so hilarious. The little things that he says they spit out during this movie sometimes. He says, I died. He goes, I wished I had.
Right.
don't say that. But he's still talking kind of like this. He's like, is that Steve Martin or is it Shaggy, man? What's the car he rented that Del Griffith had rented?
What kind of car was it?
Yeah, do you remember what kind of car it was?
No, hold on.
I can't say that I remember the car. It's,
It was probably so sorry. I knew that sneeze was coming. I was trying to stop it. Oh, gosh. Thank you. I want to say it was like an old kind of Chrysler, a Dodge. It wasn't any kind of fancy car. I mean, it was a typical like rental car, which it's never explained, but you would almost suspect that Del has the car that Neal was supposed to get out of the lot that wasn't there. So
wouldn't that have been golden?
Right.
That was the car. That would have been something else. That had been actually. I don't remember them saying it or anything. But
no, I'm just saying it's never explained. But every time I watch it, that's kind of in my mind. I think that Del must have both gotten the same car. Something happened. Wires got crossed or whatever. And they ended up both getting the same car, and Del just happened to get there before Neal did.
That would be awesome. If they had added it to it, man, that would have been so awesome.
Right.
No doubt. Look out, Del. You're messing with the wrong guy. I'm telling you. So we got a road trip now. Where are they driving from? Do you remember what they're driving from at this point?
They were in St. Louis. They were in St. Louis. Okay. Yeah, because I think he tells because the guy that knocks him out is like at a taxi stand. He said, "I'm trying to get a taxi. Where are you going?" He's like, "St. Louis." So going to Chicago. So you're in St. Louis, right? He was like, "Yeah." and that's when he starts getting smart with him. So yeah,
Would you rather get a plane?
right. Oh, gee, you think?
So 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 we got a road trip now.
Mm-hmm.
I just can't see these. See, now you got these two on a road trip together.
And this is actually my favorite part of the movie. Them driving
Yeah.
are the funniest scenes for me.
So now they ended up having to stay overnight somewhere before they started having the car trouble, right? Or do they have car trouble
No,
first?
it's car trouble first. It's them driving, and then after the car catches on fire,
Oh yeah,
they end up going to the hotel because he tries to play with his burnt credit cards.
But the I got a Visa.
Yeah,
I got a Niners card.
right.
But the reason why though all this happens, they swapped up driving, and Dell kept messing with the passenger side seat, right?
Right.
Seymour kept telling him, he said, but messing with the seat, Dell, you're gonna
break it.
Up.
Yeah,
you're gonna break it. How do you break a seat? But you stop it. You're gonna break it. You can never get comfortable in these things. Once you mess with them, you never get them right again. They end up swapping over later on, and so Steve Martin's like, "Oh, I can't believe it. Oh, I can't. I told you you were going to break it. You broke it. But you did here. Now it won't stay anywhere." And then it keeps falling back, and it keeps coming forward. And then he gets pinned up against the windshield.
Right.
He's back again, but he finally gets to go ahead and sleep a little bit. He nods off and all, and Dell's driving, and the Dell goes to throw his cigarette out the window, but it blows right back in.
And it goes in the back seat. Yep.
Right. They don't really go back to this. So, 5 minutes later, 6 minutes later?
It takes a while because you have
maybe 10 minutes.
Yeah, because you have when Steve Martin falls asleep, then he has his little lip sync moment with doing the mess around with Ray Charles. Then he gets his sleeves caught when he's trying to take his coat off.
Yes. Did he get both sides hooked?
He did get both sides, and then he's trying to steer with his legs, his thighs, and then when he finally he hits the brakes because he ends up going up he goes up the ramp, gets to the stop sign, he steps on the brakes, which frees his hands, wakes Neal up, and he's like, "Oh, must have been a deer," and so he drives back down the exit, but now he's going going the wrong way. And then, of course, you have the couple that find out they're going the wrong way, and they roll the window down. It's like, "Hey, they're trying to get our attention." He's like, "What are they saying? You're going the wrong way." How do they know which way we're going? That's always been one of my favorite parts of the movie. And so of course, Dell thinks they're drunk. They don't know where we're going. And then, of course, the two 18-wheelers are coming right at them, and they go in between the 18-wheelers, which, once again, is one of my favorite scenes because it shows both of them as skeletons. Then Neal looks at Dell, and Dell is now the devil and just laughing because I'm sure that's what's going through his mind. Yeah. And as they come out, of course, he slams on brakes again, which sends the chest flying from the back, and they run out to get the chest. And that's when you see, the flame kind of on their backs, where you can see the cars caught on fire. And
you kind of hear it at first.
Yeah, you hear it. Yeah,
you see their backs are turned. They're sitting there, and they're almost laughing at this point because all this stuff that's happening, it's unbelievable. All you do is laugh. All of a sudden, you hear this little sound like a blaze kicking in. Then you see it flickering against their backs, and then you see Steve Martin kind of looks back, and he sees some fire that's around. John Candy turns around, sees a little fire, comes back around. They're both I guess it's registering with them now.
Yeah, it's like what else can go wrong? I think we've hit rock bottom at this point. So yeah.
But then he tells Dell, he goes, "What? You've really done it this time. You're never going to get your deposit back."
Right.
Just to find out, put it on his credit card. So he's like, "Well, give me my credit card back." He was like, "Can't."
I put it in your wallet. Which is now in the car.
Yes, in
burning
the
up.
Box.
Right.
Oh. So what? So they finally get him a room. They got to stay the night again. They got a room, and he's trying to negotiate. Steve Martin, Page. He's trying to negotiate with the guy behind the counter. I don't have that much, but what I have is was it $45 or $25?
Something like that. Yeah. and a
I think it's
Casio.
20. It was no. This is one where you got Neal's. Like I got $25 and this really
Oh, right.
great watch.
Right. Yeah.
So the guy goes ahead and works it out with him. So then he's like,
Oh, yeah.
Dale's like, I got like 275 and this
Right. Casio.
Casio. Do like the little Vanna thing with his hands, showing the watch and everything,
Right.
laying it out for him, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I was like, yeah, we're at the end of this here, I guess.
Mm-hmm. So then this is when the movie starts to kind of move into the more serious part where you see Dell is out in the snow because he can't get a room, and Neal starts to really like, I can't leave this guy out in the snow, but Dell's having this conversation where like, you were right, talking to his wife Marie. I think you're right, Marie. Once again, you're right. I am the biggest schmuck or whatever he says about
Yeah.
I've finally meet somebody that I think I have a connection with and want to be friends with, and what I do I screwed up. So, and then of course Neal sees him and invites him into the hotel room, and then they kind of have their bonding moment. But I want to go back to a scene that we skipped over. That is another one of my favorite scenes, and that's when they're trying to get money. I think at the train, maybe it was the airport, trying to get money for I don't remember, but we see Dell selling the shower curtain rings as like earrings to different people.
Yes,
which is one of my favorite scenes. Yeah, we had to talk about that scene because it's I think it makes you look older. Yeah.
Yeah, it tells the teenage girls, makes you look like you're 18.
Yeah, and so they all just hand him money. Which I think
was autographed by somebody.
Yeah, said. Mick Jagger or something. Yeah, I can't remember. It was some celebrity. Yeah,
couldn't be autographed. But yeah, he's told there were anything from earrings to mood ring.
Yeah, any way he could spin it, right? But it just showed how great of a salesman he was. That he's a slob. Yeah, he talks too much, but he's successful at what he does. It's kind of like they're both successful guys, even they're just different personalities and different. One's definitely more introverted and one's more extroverted. But that's a great scene. But anyway, now we can catch back up.
I didn't realize this. This is kind of a step back in the movie. I'm looking at some of the little tidbits and fun things about it.
Mm-hmm.
It says after Dale steals Neal's cab at the beginning of the movie, Neal looks down and sees that the cab is gone. In the puddle on the ground, there are 2 shower curtain rings.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I don't think I picked up on that.
Yeah, I don't think.
Reading it, I'm like, did that happen?
Yeah, I remember reading that, but I don't think I've ever actually seen it in the movie. Like I've never paid that much attention to it.
Don Hughes, it says, is well known for staging improvisational moments for his actors in order to capture a genuine reaction. Right?
Oh yeah, I remember this. Go ahead. I love the story.
Yeah, since he was not satisfied with the Owen scene introductions after several takes, he privately instructed Dylan Baker, Owen, to wipe spit in his right hand just before shaking hands with Neal Page. Steve Martin was not expecting this, thus his disgusted reaction to shaking Baker's saliva-slathered hand. The film crew reportedly exploded in laughter as Martin ran off to wash his hands immediately. Following the encounter, Hughes got the reaction he needed, and the footage was kept in the film.
Yep.
That's great. So when you see something like that, you realize it's a legit thing, not just acting or something, but because they had done something to really get that the look or the feel of it. Crazy stuff. This is, like you said, we're starting to get serious in the movie now. So the two have been around each other for a few days. You could tell Dale is growing on him now.
Yep.
He's actually, because when he brought him in out of the snow to bring him in, he couldn't leave him out there. He's like, I can't do it. And then you can tell he's starting to grow on him a little bit with this part here. Then they get in that car and they go leave. And he's trying to push it out. He says, all right, let's get it in reverse. He goes in reverse and he backs straight into the place.
Right. And they just get in the car and drive off.
He's like looking around like, hey, all right, quick, let's go, hurry up. What are they going to pay that for? They're out of watches. The Casio's looking to cover it, okay? They take off. They end up getting pulled over
Yeah.
bike. And it's like, sir, do you have any idea how fast you were going? He goes, well, not exactly. You see, the gauges are all melted.
Right. You have no
I'm
side
surprised the car
mirrors.
would go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm surprised the car would even go. But like you said, you got no side mirrors, you got no gauges, you got nothing. He goes, yeah, but the radio works
still works. Yeah.
fine. And I swear, all I could think of when I saw that was my first car. My first car was a 73 Nova.
Okay.
I had
Classic.
interior. Oh, yeah, I loved it. But the interior needed work. And we were in the process of fixing the body on it because there was dents on both driver's side fenders in the front. So we bought a front clip out of a junkyard off of another one and put on it. And just so happens that Nova was black. So I got a black front clip on my, baby poo, green looking paint that came with it originally. On top of the rust around the taillights and the orange primer that's in different spots. It looked like Chevy just, threw up at the manufacturing plant and that's what came out.
Right.
And I got that right. But funny enough, radio played great in it. Everything else was wrong, but the radio system I had in it was spot on. Got made fun of that quite a few times. Worst thing was going to a grocery store and leaving the lights on and trying to hear the little girl in the office try to tell you about the car that's got its lights on. Well, the owner of a green yellow black with some orange on it. Well, you left your lights on. Yeah, you left your lights on, and then they hang up. And I'm in line. I'm in line. What's going on? So I remember looking at the guy in front of me, going, "Hate to be that poor schmuck, huh?" Go out there to get in the car. The guy's parked across from me. They're looking and laughing as I'm getting in the car, and I'm waving at him, going, "Yeah, poor schmuck."
Yep, it's me.
That's me. So they get on. I'm trying to remember. After the cop takes him, he impounds the car, obviously. What was
Dell finds the truck driver, and they have to ride in the back.
Yes. The truck driver. Now, the truck driver drops him off, I guess, somewhere else again. Was it a train station?
Took him train. Yeah, he was in Chicago, so they were just getting on the train to take him, I guess, to the suburbs where he could get closer to home.
And right there, he starts thinking again. This is back like where he's growing on him, and he's thinking about things. And I think he put two and two together right there. And he realizes that Dell has nobody to go home to. He's thinking about what he says about his wife. He remembers him saying he hasn't been home in so many years.
Yep.
And then he kind of, gives him real lame excuses of what he meant to say. And he just, I guess he's in his mind, he's determined something don't fit right here. So he goes, he rides it all the way back around there, gets out, runs out, and Dell is still in the place up there, kind of looking kind of pitiful in a way, by himself and everything.
Yeah.
And he asks him, "Why are you here? I thought you were going home. What are you still doing here?" And then he finally breaks down and tells him that he doesn't have a home to go to. And he tells him that his wife died X amount of years back.
Yeah.
And all this stuff. So he decides he's taking him home with him. He says, "You're going to spend the holidays with us." So they're walking down the street. Each one carried one side of that
trunk.
The big trunk there.
Yeah.
He gets there and gets to meet his family. He walks in the door. The family's there. The kids run up to him, and his wife's coming down the stairs, and he's introducing Dell to everybody. And she's just happy to see that it's him with Dell, because I think there's an undertone to the movie to where maybe she's afraid that he's messing around or something.
Yeah, I think that was in the original script, and I think there's like a 3-hour version of this movie, and I think that was one of the subplots, was that she thought that he was actually cheating on her. So when she saw that it was actually that Dell was a man and real, that everything he'd been telling her was true, that's why there's this such a emotional moment there.
Yeah, I mean, they never really say it or
Right.
anything like that, but you kind of get that feel when she's taking the phone calls from him. It's late at night, she's by herself. She reaches over, he's not there. It's him
Mm-hmm.
on the phone. He's got to catch a plane, but now they can't land in Chicago. It's send him to Wichita. Well, I can't do it now. I'm staying in a hotel room. This guy that I met. And you're staying with a stranger. Are you crazy? And now
Right.
she's maybe getting a little suspicion in her head or something, and it just keeps building up. And then finally, they're back there. She gets to meet him, that look of relief on her face and the love she has for him. And he's just glad to be there and see her and everything. And I think it's extra special to him now, too, knowing that Dell, has opened up to him that his wife passed away. And he's even more grateful to be home with his wife now than what he may have been in the first place. So he's just really grateful for that. So it ends on a good note.
Yeah.
The movie ends with Del Griffith kind of smiling and looking at how the family is reacting with him. And I don't want to say freeze framed. I don't remember if it's freeze framed or not.
It is a freeze frame. Yeah.
Is it a freeze frame? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's not a long one. Yeah, but it's a freeze frame.
Now, funny enough, if I'm not mistaken, doesn't Uncle Buck end the same way or a very similar way?
Maybe it's been a while since I've seen Uncle Buck, so I don't remember.
I want to say it was a freeze frame of John Candy's face at the end as well on that one.
Yeah.
And I don't remember if it's because the family's back together again, because he's just babysitting for her with his brother.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Like that. So, I don't know. I saw something a moment ago I was going to bring up. Here's what you were talking about, I think. It says, according to editor Paul Hirsch, the original cut of this movie was 3 hours and 40 minutes long.
Mm-hmm.
And they had to cut that to like an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Can you imagine what all was dropped that might have been funny? Is there on the Blu-ray? Did any of these show back up on the Blu-ray?
There are several deleted scenes on the Blu-ray, and actually, so I bought mine Blu-ray last year. I think it's been the last couple of years, but I just saw they're releasing a new 4K version that's supposed to have more scenes that more unseen footage that weren't on the other one. But there's a few deleted scenes on the Blu-ray that I have where there's a longer conversation on the plane when they first meet. And then a few other things, and I'm going off memory, but I know like the kid that robs them at the beginning when they're first at the first hotel, there's actually a scene where they order pizza, and that's the kid that brings them the pizza. So that's, he had a little bit of a scene there. There's a few scenes, if you watch the original trailer, there's a few scenes in there that aren't that didn't make the final cut. Some just different smaller pieces. So I think the stuff they cut wasn't necessary. I think it was probably smart to cut it down to an hour 40. But there's definitely, I don't think there's much comedy scenes that were cut out. There were more dialogue and just a few like piecing subplots or other minor storylines that they ended up taking out.
Let's see, where's it at here? The 3-hour version of the film, it says, does indeed exist, although not in order.
Okay.
It's allegedly a mess of footage that would take months, maybe even years for the Hughes to transform into an actual film.
Right.
It is locked away in a Paramount vault. According to Hughes, most of his probably deteriorated by now. He shot over 600,000 feet of film, almost twice the industry average. And, of course, like you said, they ended up bumping it down. There's a scene not in the theatrical version, but it airs on the televised version.
Right.
It says Dell and Neal eat dinner on a plane. The scene ends with a long-haired passenger in front of Neal, and his or her hair cascades down onto his brownie, completely covering it.
I remember seeing that version on TV, and then wondering why when I had the VHS why I wasn't on there. So,
well, it says seeing that Neal is no longer hungry, Dell fishes through the hair to retrieve it and eats it.
Right.
Oh, I would have loved to see that in there. That would have been awesome.
Yeah, a lot of those scenes you can watch them on YouTube. if you don't have the Blu-ray.
I'm gonna have to look for that now. I didn't think about that. That's a good idea. I'm going to look for that and see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the new 4K that's coming out, let's see, has it come out yet? Sorry, I should have been better prepared. But anyway, but the packaging shows that it has over an hour of never before seen deleted and extended scenes. So I never like paying for a movie twice, but I may just have to do that, even though I don't have a 4K player, but it does give me a digital code. But I'm trying to see when that's actually supposed to come out. If it, November 15th. So it just came out. So
a lot of the Blu-rays you buy have those codes. That's where I got most of mine. Most of the movies I have right now, I've got digital and Vudu.
Yeah, that's me too.
The majority of mine, well, it used to be the majority of mine was gifted to me by my one of my relatives. My cousin sent them to me. I received this big 8.5 by 11 envelope in the mail one day, and I look at it, open it up, and it's got like 50 movies in there, but not movies, but
just the codes.
The codes for the movie. So I'm entering these things like crazy, get these movies in my Vudu, you know. And since then, I've bought a bunch too. But just to throw this out there, just one of those little interesting things, I guess. At the beginning of the movie, Neal Page races a character played by Kevin Bacon for a taxi.
Right.
Later, Neal phones his wife to tell her that he has been delayed yet again. In the background, you can hear the fight from She's Having a Baby, also directed by John Hughes, between Kevin Bacon and Elizabeth McGovern, when she screams that she doesn't like his friend's girlfriend. Yeah, it's funny how they always put all these little things in the movies that you may not pick up on.
You're right.
Easter eggs, you know, and that people actually just, I don't know, are they looking for them on purpose? Are they just ignoring the movie and listening to the background and looking at things that aren't focused on just to say, hey?
Some people are really observant like that. But yeah, one of the things that they talked about is that there's kind of like this John Hughes verse, universe or whatever. Like all things are somewhat connected. They're connected, but doesn't make sense. Like they're not logical. But like just like you talked about with, Kevin Bacon's character. There's speculation that that's the character he played, and She's Having a Baby. And John Candy has a cameo in that movie, but he's not Del Griffith. He's actually a different character that he's played in another John Hughes movie. I can't remember which one it is. So there's like, he uses these same people, like, just like I was thinking about today. I was like, well, they're in Chicago. I wondered if was that actually Ferris Bueller's dad, because they never say his name in that scene. You just know it's like a coworker of Neal.
And his dad is in a big office,
right,
high rise too, wearing a very similar suit to what he had on in that.
Right. So
I'll never see that blows my mind right there now. Thinking about that. Now I'm going to want to go back and look at these things closer just so I can see. Now, the one thing I did pick up on that I didn't bring up earlier, that's why I was asking you what the car was.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
The exterior of the rental car was designed to resemble that of the Griswold station wagon.
I kind of thought that too. Yeah, the wood panel and
man,
very true.
I'm still thinking of Ferris Bueller's dad now. That's got me thinking.
Right.
What if that is the case? Awesome. John Hughes originally wanted Tom Hanks for the role of Neal Page and John Travolta for the role of Dale Griffith. Hanks was unavailable because he was shooting big, and Paramount executives did not want Travolta in the movie because he was considered box office poison.
At that time he was.
What brought him to be box office poison? Do you remember? Was there something that he did, or a movie that bombed, or
he just didn't have.
He disappeared for a while.
He did. He was big in like the late 70s, early 80s, and then he made was it Staying Alive? He had some really bombs
it's Saturday Night Fever.
Yeah, then Staying Alive was the sequel, which didn't do well. Right. He was in Perfect with Jamie Lee Curtis, which didn't do well. Two of a Kind with we try to get back with Sandy from Grease, Olivia Newton-John. Right. I don't remember any after that, but I just know like he had several movies that did not do well at the box office.
I think the last one I remember him being in before he had a hiatus there, I think was perfect.
Yeah, it could be.
I thought that was it. I mean, I don't know, but I mean, all I know is he was gone for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Then he came back like you couldn't get nobody better than him now.
Yeah.
He was the man at that point.
Yeah,
It's
his
like he was
comeback his
Cruise.
comeback was 89 with Look Who's Talking. That was like his first big comeback. And then of course then kind of the beginning of the 90s he kind of went back down again, and then he hit cult status again when he did Pulp Fiction in like the mid
Oh, but now was Broken Arrow before or after Pulp Fiction?
Oh gosh, was that before or after? That might have I don't know. I have to IMDb that. Yeah.
Yeah, I would too, but I feel like it's kind of before that. But I'm not going to IMDb it right now because I mean it's not the show's not about him anyway.
Right.
Just a wild thought, you know. Everybody knows we get off on our little tangents here and we get off track. It's okay. It's expected, like I said.
Right.
But anyway, I back to what we were talking about him wanting those people. I can't see. I can see Tom Hanks.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I can see him playing Neil Page, playing that type of character, but I can't see John Travolta playing a Dale Griffith kind of guy. I mean, Dale Griffith, the way John Candy portrayed it. I mean, I don't. Now that that's what we've seen. Let's say we never saw John Candy do it, and they put John Travolta. Maybe we'd be saying right now, well, I can't see John Candy doing that because it would have been played differently. But seeing how John Candy did it, I cannot put John Travolta in there anyway. The closest thing I could say would be him acting like his Vinnie Barbarino sweat hog character or something. You know, that's the closest I could come to for him being just irritable, very irritable, like Dale Griffith was to be around. So, well, I mean, it was a great movie. I loved it.
Oh, for sure.
Like I said earlier, it's a Thanksgiving thing that's the only movie I know of. It's a Thanksgiving deal for me, and I'll be watching every year from this point forward. Christmas is coming up, which means I'll be watching the 24 hours worth of Christmas Story on TBS.
Right.
Every year, I turn that on. I watch that. Wizard of Oz. It's about that time for that as well to be coming back on. There's certain movies I'll watch throughout the year, every year. You know, once when they're coming out, because that's the time of year when they do come out. And since it's kind of traditional, they play them. To me, it's kind of traditional that I should watch it.
Yeah.
If I'm home, I will still watch, and sometimes I'll record it and watch it later on DVR. But I mean, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, when it comes on, you know, not the cartoon, but that
stop motion.
Was that stop motion they did? You know, I mean, I'll watch that and the Isle of Misfit Toys thing that he's in. I mean, because I loved him as a kid, and it's a traditional thing every year at Christmas to watch it. And then I've added to it over the years. So obviously, I've added Christmas Vacation. It's not just, you know, you're going to put your eye out, kid. It's not just him anymore. I mean, we got to have little Clark Griswold in there.
Oh, yeah.
Cousin Eddie. It's full.
Yeah, I know. I can't repeat any of my favorite lines from that movie.
No, you can't. That's what I'm thinking. I can't say any of the favorite lines from it, but everybody knows when I say it's full. They know what we're talking about.
They know exactly what's full. Yep.
That time of the year. So things. I hope everybody gets your favorites in this year and enjoys them. And looks like Tim, we're at that cutoff point here. We're about an hour into the show. If you want to go ahead one more time and, for the record, let us know about that great podcast where you talk about 80s movies.
Yep, the 80s Flick Flashback podcast. So talking about the holidays. So, yeah, we did Planes, Trains, and Automobiles the first season because that was the only Thanksgiving movie. Last year we did An American Tail because I remembered that coming out around Thanksgiving, and it talks about family, so I felt that was kind of appropriate. So this year we'll be doing the one on the original Annie from like 81, or I know it's early 80s. So the musical Annie, because I remember seeing that around the holidays and it's family oriented. But for Christmas this year, we've already covered A Christmas Story. We've covered Christmas Vacation. We've covered Die Hard. We've covered Lethal Weapon. So this year we're doing Scrooged with Bill Murray and Santa Claus the movie. is got our Christmas episode. So look forward to those coming out the next 6 weeks.
I have yet to make up my mind what Christmas movie I want to go with because I didn't do a Christmas related theme last year.
Oh yeah.
And I'm torn because I love A Christmas Story.
Mm-hmm.
And I love to see, like I said, the National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, and
yeah,
there's so many good things to fall back. Like you said, Scrooged. So many good things to fall back on that we could, that I could do that I just can't make up my mind yet. Knowing me, I'm going to go with A Christmas Story probably. And there's one person that's out there who's kind of resurfaced from that movie. Not Peter Billingsley, although they're making another Christmas Story and Peter Billingsley's going to be in it.
Right.
But his friend in the movie that gets his tongue stuck to the pole.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think they call him Flick or something like that.
Flick, yeah, I think so. Yeah.
The guy that played that role is kind of out there right now offering some things about the movie.
Oh, okay.
I would love to reach out and contact this guy and see if I could get him on to talk about that movie. That would be awesome for me.
That would be cool. Yeah.
It would be so awesome to do just to get his perspective of it and talk about it. I mean, obviously, anybody from the movie that Peter Billingsley would be awesome, being that he's the one that still shoots his eye out almost. The father would be great, though, wouldn't it? Can you picture having the father on there talking about the furnace?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's where Ralphie picks up all the bad words, is listening to his father work on the furnace. But I will go ahead and wrap this up. I know I don't want to go too long. My last 2 episodes have gone an hour and a half plus, so I'm trying to tone it back down a little bit. I'm sorry, everybody. I mean, once we get talking, we get talking.
Hey, that's what a podcast is talking.
Yeah, I mean, one of them was Rambo, and it went for quite a while. One of them was already pre-recorded for next week. Yours is, but mine and yours isn't going before that, but it went a little bit long too.
Mm-hmm.
It's a near and dear topic to my heart from a kid. All about that wrestling. But we wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy your time with your family, your kids, your loved ones, and everything. Make the best of it. Remember, there are some people out there that aren't as fortunate as the rest of us, so appreciate everything that you have.
Yep.
And I appreciate all of y'all that do listen to the podcast and refer to your friends and family and everything. And if you do like this episode that we did today, be sure to leave a rating and a review for us, if you will. It does help with the algorithms that they have for ranking the podcasts. I didn't think that it really made that big of a difference, but it really and truly does. So for those of you that do that, appreciate you 100%. And Tim, I appreciate you, dude, for coming on yet again. You have been a lifesaver many times for me on this show. And me and you were in the same boat tonight. We're both probably half dead on our feet and going to sleep right after this.
Yes.
So
yes, always a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. Man, it's always good to talk about an 80s movie. So I'm welcome anytime.
Absolutely. And we'll catch you guys next week. Have a good one.